Hi there. Today is the second line day, and we are in gate 7, and we have the line of the Democrat. It has taken civilization, in quotes, civilization, a great deal of time for us to get to a point where democracy is possible. We take it for granted, but it's actually a fairly modern invention. To be a Democrat is not something that is transpersonal. It has to be called out. And this is, of course, the second line. And obviously, this is a gate in which there is the capacity to lead. This is the role of the leader. And so when you come to the second line, this is going to be somebody who doesn't know that they have that capacity to lead. It's other people who are going to see that. And this is the basis of what we call democracy. The moment that somebody is aware of the fact that they have the potential to lead, then it's a different story. So others have to bring this quality of leadership out. And it speaks to the nature of the democratic system, which is based on leadership being dependent on society, providing the energy. So you might say then in the form of votes being a form of energy. So there's a lifetime learning which says the ability to lead by serving the will of the majority. The whole thing about Democrats is that they just don't know that. They don't know that they have the role. The role is found out, and the moment that role is found out, they have the opportunity that they can be brought into the democratic process. There is a theme that runs through all of the second lines. You may be becoming aware of it now as we go on this journey together, and that is one of education. We have to educate people to the democratic process. We have to call them out and educate them. We have to present them with all of the issues. We have to give them the right to be informed. And of course, in societies where democracy is new, you can see right away the dilemma when there is no sort of educational foundation for the process itself. It's very important for us to understand in our social collective reality that democracy is not actually something that is particularly natural. And that if democracies are to be maintained, if the individual rights in the social political sense are to be maintained, then we must keep on educating people as best as we can. So in the Exaltation, we have the application of universally accepted systems. When connected through the alpha channel to the 31, the influence, the potential for widespread and revolutionary effect on society. The capacity of the self to lead when chosen. So this is a second line. It's actually quite exalted, in the sense that it can have a universal impact, which is that logic only works out of the sharing process. And this is a really big thing. And this is the best way to share leadership. It's the best way that we have. I think it was Churchill who said democracy is not the best that is possible, but it is the best that we have. Democratically, when they're elected to it and they're called up. Did I say that the way I meant to say that? That sounded really good in my head. When I say it, I think, what did I mean? Okay, can I just go back a second? Churchill said democracy is not the best that is possible, but it is the best that we have. Yeah, I can't remember what I was going to say about that. So there are many democracies who are fairly new in democracy, into this form of government. And very often they elect people democratically, and those people then become dictators. It's actually a very common phenomenon, really. They stay president for 1 term and then 2 terms, and then they change the constitution, and then it's 4 terms and it's 5 terms, and before you know it, they never ever leave power. And so it's one of those things that a little bit of power, great, too much power is going to corrupt. In the detriment, we have elitism and denigration by Democrats of democracy. The capacity of the self, once chosen, to feel superior to those who chose them. So this is the one who's voted in, and then it turns around and has the attitude that all voters are stupid. Yes, they just elected you, but then you're saying voters are stupid. And you try to control in the way in which they think, because you know that they need that, because they're really stupid. They're stupid enough to have voted for you. So, you know exactly how stupid they are because you know yourself. Elitism and denigration of Democrats by democracy. It's not uncommon. We have the second line that is known as the paper tiger. So you look inside and you can see they have that role, and you bring that role out of them only to discover that democracy isn't what they're interested in at all. They really want to be the dictator. And it doesn't mean just because they've got the second line that they are democratic. It means that there is the possibility of it there. And always we have to say, or not. The second line is very often surprised to have been elected. So in our sort of fairly modern era, one would say that would be a classic example of Indira Gandhi. She was a 7 line 2, and that sort of surprise at being elected, surprised at being wanted and recognized. The grounding element here in the 13 line 2 is called bigotry. So this is one of those lines that very often suffers from word prejudice. It's an ever-present risk that fellowship can only exist for a particular type. And that's maybe a strange kind of support for a Democrat, you might think. So maybe then if we just look at it in terms of the detriment, maybe that grounds in better than the exaltation, the bigot grounding into the superiority thing. I'm not sure. What do you think? Do you have this gate? Do you have this line? Do you have any experience of it that you would like to share? The moon has just gone into gate 40, which is the tribal ego gate of aloneness. It's the great gate of denial, the willpower to work really hard for the good of the community, although it wants to be recognized for the work that it does. And later on, it moves into gate 64. That's at 2054. And this is sort of the last gate in the wheel almost. We have 64 gates, although it's a wheel. So really there's no end in a way. I'm not sure you can have a last gate in a process that just keeps on rolling on all the time. But it's called before completion. And this is the gate of confusion. You can tell I'm a bit confused. The abstract mental pressure that is trying to make sense of memories and of experience, anything that sort of happened in the past. The abstract is always the time of the past. This is a gate that has a constant pressure in it to make sense of memories, to make sense of what has happened. And it's a natural part of the process to be confused about it until that has all settled down and some sense has been made. You cannot force a realization. You cannot relieve the pressure and release the anxiety by making something out of the confusion. That actually tends to just make things more confusing. You cannot join the dots in gate 64. That's not its job. It's the job of the Ajna gate 47. And that's where the wheel takes us next. We go into gate 47 at 12 minutes past 8 tomorrow morning, British summertime. And this is that process of filtering where it's come down through gate 64 and all of that confusion, all of the images. Remember, this is a very visual stream or very visual channel where we are here. And so the pictures come in, but they're not in any particular order. And this is partly where the confusion comes from. So these pictures are all over the place, and it's in the ajna that they're sort of put into some kind of order when you can get that, aha, that was what that experience was all about. So this is what happens when we get into 47. Those mental images start, we're just making themselves, getting into alignment somehow. And it's not necessarily a quick process. This abstract stream, it goes through the solar plexus. The solar plexus takes time, has to go through its wave. It has to make its way in the time that it does. I mean, sometimes you get wave after wave after wave, and sometimes it's a much slower process. But it's a mechanical process, and it's not mental. It's not up to us how long the wave takes to do its thing. So you could say there's that wave that comes through that brings clarity into the mental system and for the confusion to be in a realization. Yeah, that's our weather for today. That is the gate 7 in the line 2. Thank you very much for joining me. And I will see you tomorrow for a 3rd line day. And until then, as always, you know what I'm going to say, don't you?